25,000 feet over Germany, 1943, 40 degrees below zero. A stream of bombers a mile long, engines shaking the sky. This is the B-17 Flying Fortress. 4 engines, 10 men, and up to 13 heavy machine guns. A reporter gave it the name in 1935, and the Army built a doctrine around it. Bombers flying in daylight, deep into enemy territory, defending themselves. But the real weapon was never one plane. It was the formation. A stacked, staggered grid the crews called the combat box. A flying fortress wasn't flown so much as crewed, like a ship. 10 men, most in their early 20s. 4 officers, pilot, co-pilot, navigator, bombardier, 6 enlisted men, flight engineer, radio operator, ball turret gunner, 2 waist gunners, and a tail gunner. At altitude, they breathed through oxygen masks, plugged electric suits into the plane, and worked in cold that froze bare skin to metal. Each man had a station, a job, and a field of fire. Walk the plane with me, nose to tail. The nose is a greenhouse of plexiglass. In the tip sits the bombardier, hunched over the Norden bomb site. A gyro-stabilized instrument so secret crews swore an oath over it. On the bomb run, the site is coupled to the autopilot, and for those last minutes, the bombardier, not the pilot, effectively steers the plane. Behind him, the navigator works at a tiny desk. Charts, compass, drift meter, and a pair of cheek guns. Late models added a chin turret under their feet. A fix for a weakness we'll meet soon. Up a step, the cockpit. Crews called it the front office. Pilot on the left, co-pilot on the right, flying formation by hand for 8, 10, 12 hours. Constant throttle work, wrestling propeller wash from the planes ahead. Tucked behind them stands the flight engineer, the enlisted man who knows the machine best. Fuel transfers, systems, damage. When fighters come, he steps up into the top turret and its twin 50s, scanning the sky above the wings, calling threats over the interphone. Amidships, the radio operator keeps the formation's link to England. Below the floor, the smallest man on the crew folds himself into the ball turret, an aluminum sphere hanging under the belly, knees to his chest, no room for a parachute inside. In the waist, 2 gunners stand at open windows in a 200-mile-an-hour slipstream. Frostbite wounded more airmen than bullets. And in the very tail, a man kneels over twin 50s, guarding the formation's back. 13 guns, now multiply by every plane in the sky. A lone bomber was a dead bomber. The answer was geometry. In 1942, a hard-driving colonel named Curtis LeMay drilled his group into a staggered formation. 3 plane Vs stacked into 6 plane squadrons, squadrons stacked into a group box of 18 to 21 aircraft, 1 squadron leading, 1 high, 1 low, offset, so no plane flew directly behind another. Group boxes then stacked into a combat wing of 54. It concentrated the bombs. Everyone released when the lead bombardier did, and it turned the sky into a fortress. Here is the arithmetic that made fighters respect the box. 1 group box, over 250 caliber machine guns, a combat wing, more than 600, arranged so their fields of fire crossed and overlapped. A fighter attacking any single bomber flew through the gun sights of a dozen others. The price was discipline. You held position, close, exact, wingtip to wingtip, because a loose box was an invitation. LeMay even banned evasive action on the bomb run. The formation, not the fortress, was the weapon. But a box has corners, and one of them had a nickname. Low squadron, low group, the trailing, outside edge of the formation, thinnest in covering fire and first in the path of attack. Crews called it Purple Heart Corner, after the medal you get for being wounded. New crews often flew there. Survivors worked their way inward, mission by mission, toward the protected heart of the box. In this war, your odds could depend on your coordinates inside an aluminum grid. The Luftwaffe studied the box and found its weak face, the front. In late 1942, German pilots led by Egon Meyer began attacking head-on, where the early fortress carried the least armor and the fewest guns. Two formations closing at over 500 miles an hour gave a fighter roughly 2 seconds to aim, fire, and roll away under the bomber stream. Crews learned to dread the call. Bandits, 12 o'clock high. The fix arrived bolted to the B-17G, a remote chin turret under the nose so even the front face could bite back. Fighters weren't the only enemy. Around every target waited flak, radar-directed 88 and 105mm guns, hurling shells that burst at altitude into black, blooming puffs. Veterans said heavy flak looked thick enough to walk on. Shrapnel rattled across the aluminum like gravel thrown at a tin roof. And on the bomb run, there was no dodging at all. Doors open, straight and level, holding formation while the sky filled in around you. Those minutes, crews agreed, were the longest of the war. When a fortress was hit, the formation watched a slow drama begin. An engine streams smoke, the propeller is feathered, the plane slips backward out of the box. Now it's a straggler, and the box cannot slow down for it. Fighters gathered on stragglers like wolves, cutting one animal from the herd. Inside a falling bomber, the pilot rings the bailout bell and holds the plane steady with everything he has, buying seconds while centrifugal force tries to pin his crew to the walls. Above, the box closes the gap and flies on. In the neighboring planes, men pressed to their windows and did the only thing they could. They counted. 1 chute, 2, 3. The numbers went into debriefing reports that evening, and those numbers decided whether a family got missing or killed. For the bald turret gunner, escape meant hand cranking the sphere level, climbing up into the fuselage and finding the parachute he could not wear inside, all in a plane that might be spinning. 10 men. On a lucky, terrible day, 10 chutes, often fewer. A combat tour was 25 missions. Through 1943, losses on deep raids ran around 5%. Flip that coin 25 times, and the odds of finishing were roughly 1 in 4. On October 14th, Black Thursday, 291 fortresses went to Schweinfurt, 60 fell, 600 men gone in an afternoon. By war's end, the 8th Air Force had lost 26,000 dead, more than the entire United States Marine Corps. The bombers were reaching the targets. Alone, they were bleeding to death doing it. What saved daylight bombing wasn't a bigger box, it was company. Escort fighters, Thunderbolts first, stretched deeper with drop tanks, and then the P-51 Mustang, which could fly to Berlin and back. Bomber crews called them Little Friends, and meant it. In early 1944, the escorts were turned loose to hunt the Luftwaffe wherever it rose, and in brutal weeks of air battle, the German fighter force bled out. Loss rates fell. Tours stretched to 30, then 35 missions, because now you could live through them. By D-Day, the sky belonged to the box. The combat box was a machine made of men, 10 to a plane, hundreds to a wing, holding position in freezing air because geometry, crossed gunfire, tight bomb patterns, closed gaps was what got ordinary 22-year-olds to Germany and back. It came at a cost no formation could fully close over. A handful of fortresses still fly today, one engine note where there were once 4,000. But look at any photograph of that stacked wedge of bombers, and you can still read the idea in it. Alone, a target. Together, a fortress.